What? Good evening. Today we are going to talk about our neighborhood and we'll take a scan of the whole area. And actually, today is also the beginning of a new series which I've started mainly for aspirants of the Defense Services Staff College so that they get their ideas about current affairs, important aspects, as also science and military technology, for which I'm going to start a series in detail. But that's later. Today, we're going to go around with this neighborhood and examine each country in detail with General Vinod Bhatia, who's been our DGMO. Sir, good evening and welcome to Gunner Shot. We are now linking up after a long time, and I think it's a very important topic we are discussing just as elections are getting over and a new government is getting in place.
Jai Hind and good evening, and thank you, Shankar. It's always a privilege and honor to be on a platform. It's an education for me too, listening to your viewers' questions and trying to challenge myself to live up to the expectations.
Oh no, sir, you live more than that because you've been to many of these countries and you handle many of these countries operationally, and I have no doubt about it. But let me set the stage so that things are in perspective. And many of these things we have spoken about it. After all, this is the second time we are talking of our neighborhood, right? The first thing is India has a neighborhood first policy. What is the cornerstone of this neighborhood first policy? The cornerstone has always been it's an unsaid compact that India will help in the progress and prosperity of all its neighbors, and in turn, the neighbors will assist India in its security concerns, whether those security concerns are internal by not giving camps and help to insurgents and all that, especially in the northeast, or go too much towards China and take up projects with them which are inimical to our interests. This is a compact around which we've been largely working. After all, we can't have a neighborhood which is out of our prosperity, circle. Then, of course, if you look at our neighborhood, we find two, three things here. You have two hostile neighbors in China and Pakistan, and that's a constant, it will never go away. Then we have two dysfunctional neighbors in Afghanistan and Myanmar, and these promise to be dysfunctional for quite some time. If you analyze the other countries in the neighborhood, Sri Lanka, Maldives, Bhutan, Nepal, and Bangladesh, right? Our equations with them, despite our neighborhood first policy, has been, alternating between hot and cold. Sometimes we've been good with them, sometimes not so good with them, and that's what we're going to discuss today. Now, the next constant in this whole story is China, which is the dragon in this room, and we cannot wish it away, right? And China, for its own thing, is trying to make inroads into this area as part of its superpower ambitions. Okay. Now, in that context, General Bhatia and I had discussed this in detail. How do you handle China in this thing? And we had said we need to have a 4D strategy. For those of you who are not familiar with this 4D strategy, let me put it in context. And this was General Bhatia's original thinking. The first D is to defend the LAC. That's fine. The second D was to, use diplomacy and bind with your neighbors and, not only neighbors, everyone in the international fair, use your diplomacy to counter China. But the next two are important. The next two is deny space to China in our neighborhood. Denying space to China in our neighborhood as part of our neighborhood first policy is very important. Unless you deny him space, he will grow here. And that's the third D of our 4D strategy. And the fourth D of the 4D strategy was to dominate the maritime space. In the maritime space, again, you see countries like Myanmar, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, and Maldives come into play. So, in this 4D strategy, also, our understanding and dealing with our neighbors is very important, right? And this is something which we have to keep focusing all along. And as far as our neighbors are concerned, broadly, they are in a situation, they are caught in some ways between India and China, and in many ways they are playing each other off. So this is the background and the reality of our neighborhood and our neighborhood first policy where it should head. With this, I'll hand you over now to General Bhatia. Sir, please take us through. You can go country by country, and we can take our time because it's been a long time. And most importantly, what do you see this relationship coming as a new government comes into play, which we have discussed about, and I'd like you to focus on that. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, General Shankar. Thank you very much. It's a very interesting subject because this is where what India is all about. Let me start by saying that India is a risen, responsible, resurgent nation. It's a regional partner, global leader. Having said that, we are rising, and it's a paradox that which Happy Monjekar brought out very. It's a great thought he brought out that whereas we are rising globally, but our power in the neighborhood declining. Now, I want to challenge this, right? Uh, we want to find out what exactly it is and how do we conclude it's declining? Is our aspirations more today? India is an assertive power. We are asserting ourselves internationally, regionally, extra-regionally, and that is where I think this paradox comes into being. Having said that, let me get into the nitty-gritties of the whole thing. Now, India has got 7 land neighbors where we share a boundary of 15,106.7 kilometers. Right, and the 7 land neighbors, Afghanistan, which you normally Afghanistan our neighbor because we have 106-kilometer border with Afghanistan. We generally believe that we have 2 maritime neighbors. Actually, we don't have 2 maritime neighbors. We have 3 more maritime neighbors with whom we also share the land border. That is Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Myanmar. I will go one step further. We also have maritime neighbors in Thailand, which is just about 605 miles away from our Andaman Nicobar, which is our territories. We have a maritime neighbor Malaysia, which is 1271 kilometers from Andaman Nicobar. We have a maritime neighbor in Indonesia. Sumatra is just about 1192 kilometers away. Right? And the Indian coast is further away. And then we have Singapore, which is 1683 kilometers away. So when we talk about neighborhood, I think we should also look at our neighborhood, our maritime neighborhood, which is an expanded neighborhood, which also may not be the mainland, but definitely Andaman Nicobar is very much our territories, and they are just a few hundred miles away from our neighborhood. Now, having said that, let me go to the neighborhood first policy. Neighborhood first policy was originated, and the original thought was in 2008. Right? Most of us think about 2014, no, 2008. And it is the principle of engagement were laid out in form of 5 S's, 5S. Right? And the 5S were Samman, which is dignity, Samvad, which is dialogue, Shanti, peace, Samriddhi, prosperity, and Sanskriti, which is culture. Right. So this was the foundation of our neighborhood first policy, which we propagated in year 2008. But the whole neighborhood first policy got a boost in 2014 with the present dispensation, which is there. And thereafter, there have been ups and downs, many ups and downs. We have seen Sri Lanka go away, then come back. We've seen Maldives go away, come back, and go away again. Similarly, Nepal, Bhutan obviously remain. Myanmar, there's been a coup. Afghanistan has been, there's a major geopolitical shift in Afghanistan. And Pakistan, as we all know, is in the habit of, I must say, drowning itself. We should let Pakistan drown but not sink. Okay, there's a difference between drowning and sinking. And we, of course, China, you already covered. 2020 was a big change, a very friendly China. We are growing in relationship, and they came and did the forward deployment along the LAC. Now, having said that, let's take the more tricky ones first. We should also talk of our neighborhood. SARC is on a ventilator, if I may say so. Some of the diplomats may not like it, but that's a fact. There is no SARC head of states meeting. But BIMSTEC has actually the one which is more focused, and we should look at BIMSTEC. And we should also look at what Prime Minister Modi said in the Shankar dialogue and the philosophy of Sagar, security and growth of all the regions. So these two things are very important. In Shankar dialogue said connectivity is all important. Everything is about connectivity, right? And that is where I think the key lies: culture and connectivity. We are culturally linked, civilizationally linked, but our connectivity is not as it should be. Right? Commerce is not as it should be. 25% of the world's population is South Asia, but our commerce and trade is only 3%. So if we don't have connectivity, we'll not have commerce. We'll not have commerce. We'll not the interdependence will not be there. So what we need is interdependence, and that is what how it should be. Now, as you said, let's take the countries first. Let me take the more controversial one and very close to my heart is Maldives first. Because everyone feels that Maldives has gone away and going away. Well, Maldives is a sovereign country and very rightly has been brought up by many of our leaders also that if they want to do something, they're most welcome to do it. But I think their realization is certain that in the end, it is India will come to their help, and that's what always happened in 1988 November when the coup happened. We went in, we came out. But one thing I must reiterate at the cost of repetition: India does not have any extra regional ambitions. Wherever we have gone and we have come out, whether 1952 Nepal, whether it was the Maldives in 88, Sri Lanka in 87, 88, 89, we have gone into to at the invitation of our neighbors as per their accord, and we all have come out. We not stayed there. In Maldives, we didn't stay a day longer. 3rd November, we went there. 17th November, everyone was out except for Six Para, which is told to stay on for one more year. And on 3rd November 1989, Six Para came out. Sri Lanka again. Same thing happened in Sri Lanka. July 87 accord, we went in, and by 89, we were all out. Similarly, 1952 Nepal. Similarly, why only that? Why not Bangladesh? Liberation of Bangladesh. Right. We went in, and Bangladesh was liberated. Bangladesh said, fine, thank you very much, you go back, and we came back. In no time, we came back. I think by December, and each and every Indian soldier was out of Bangladesh. Right. So that is our record. So that is what the neighbor should be looking at, that we have no extraterritorial ambitions. Right? And they should be reassured on that. Because somehow, the feeling of that big brother is always there. Oh, we are elder brother, we're not big brother. We're elder brother by the size. Right? So when you take the countries, the nations first, when I talk about Maldives, fortunately, most of our neighborhood has had election, Pakistan, Bangladesh, in 2024, Nepal, Bhutan, Maldives,
In
Sri
Sri
Lanka.
Lanka in September,
Sri Lanka next in September. India, of course, is in election mode,
ongoing.
so ongoing. So when Maldives election, the president got a mandate, and it was an anti-India mandate. There's no doubt about it. Why should he shy away? Recognize the fact. The mandate was anti-India mandate, but then they had a thought immediately. They got hit. They got a major industry in tourism. The tourism industry got hit. No, they think the channel filled the void. The channel filled the void. But where does Maldives gets all it needs from? No, it's a nation which is the first one to go under because of climate security, right? It's just about 1 meter in height. So they have to have landfills. Where does the landfill come from? It comes from Tuticorin. That's the nearest. It comes from Cochin. That's the nearest. If they want all the material to be shifted from China, uh, the cost is prohibitive. Or West Asia, the cost is prohibitive. Okay. So they'll have to come back to India, and we should be patient enough. We should let them the road, let them realize it second time. Why are you so concerned? Everyone is very anti-Maldives. Why anti-Maldives? People are still good. It is the dynamics of every nation. The anti-India out campaign was well run. These are campaigns, they're political campaigns. They have a certain, every campaign has a certain life. And the life expires very fast. People's memory is only as good as their, livelihood and stomach. So I think Maldives is the case which we need to study. And we should always keep reminded what happened to Sri Lanka, because Sri Lanka also has gone through the same cycle of winning away from India at the base of China, coming back to India when it was in dire needs. And look at it now, they are actually looking at India for all the help. And India has given all the help without conditions. There's no condition attached. In for Maldives, the waiver, there's no condition attached. Right? We understand that when we talk of, when the Prime Minister talks to Sagar, uh, we need a prosperous region. Not only for prosperity for them, we need prosperity for us. Everyone wants to live in a prosperous neighborhood. You want to build a house, you seek the best neighborhood you can afford. Right? No one wants to live in a joggi jogdi calling a jogapatti. Everyone wants to look at this thing. So we also have ambitions. If we're looking at to be a modern, prosperous, secure nation, we have to understand that modern, prosperous, secure nation as a national aim will come only if our neighborhood is prosperous, our neighborhood is secure, and our neighborhood is together. Unfortunately, we have a lot of fractures. Blame it on history, blame it on the British. The fact is that British by design or default let us in shambles. They left us in shambles. Divided, destroyed, bankrupt. Okay. And we have built over the last 7.5 decades, we have built ourselves. Each of the nations built itself and done reasonably well. Even Pakistan done reasonably well. So 7.5 decades, not very, very long in the history of a nation. When talk of Maldives now, let us see how Maldives now responds. Unfortunately, it is a given that the president, after assuming his office, his first port of call is Delhi. Right? So it has been violated at times. It was already violated by Nepal in 2008, and then Maldives now, where he went to China at the invitation of China. Normally, as a matter of I won't say protocol, as a matter of usage. The first protocol or first visit of the head of the state of our neighbors is always in India, right? And that is how the foreign minister has been here. He's gone back, and I think he's gone back pretty satisfied. The signals which are emanating from Maldives are that okay, let's get back on even keel. So that is where I think Maldives comes into being. The other is Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka has been through the debt trap of China. And like you rightly said, deny space. India has to deny space neighborhood, but how do you deny space with China with its deep pockets and its philosophy of debt trap, world diplomacy, and military coercion also. Right? It believes in that. So it also believes in I'm a soldier, I speak straight, bribery and blackmail of the leaders. That is what what people talk about. I'm not the only one who says that. It's been said earlier also, and bribery does take place, and that is how it is. This is the world moves in not straight lines. It is a crooked world, and that is how it is. So Sri Lanka, I think, is again back on even keel. We see the confidence building has taken place, and they realize that in the long term interests lie with India. You see, we got affinity with Sri Lanka. Buddhism is there, the Tamils are there. It's our neighborhood, and we also need Sri Lanka for the Colombo port. 45% of trade comes from Colombo port, and that is where the new contract. I think India is a party to that. Hambantota is like Gwadar again, a ghost port where she never docks, they never takes off. So we'll have to look at Sri Lanka. We should be looking at the people-to-people contact, right? Invest in the people. Something we did in Afghanistan very successfully. Invest in the people rather than invest in the dispensation. Dispensation will come and dispensation will go, but the people will remain the same. The people should feel that India is an elder brother. India is there in the time of need, and we have always in the time of need. It's a proven report, right? And I'm not going to the details of how much trade we have or trade we don't have because as a trading partner concerned, China way ahead. Okay, there's no competition. China is the leading trading partner in 30 countries of the world. Okay. China is also investing in the military equipment in our neighborhood. Okay. That's a good thing they're investing in military equipment. That equipment never works properly. Okay. It doesn't have the same legality and life cycle as other countries. Coming to the north, and Sri Lanka model is important geostrategically, and they're important because the Indo-Pacific region, and that is where I think India, Sri Lanka, Maldives, and also the West, we should be looking at each other for support. And in the earlier regions, in the earlier days, uh, people used to migrate to the eastern coast of Africa, and there they were known as Lahariyas because they used to go with the Lahars. Okay. So our reach also goes beyond our immediate neighbors up to the eastern coast of Africa, whether Mauritius, whether Tanzania, Kenya. So all these nations have been our neighbors in the way. Come to the north now. I think the tricky nations right now undergoing a lot of pressure from both the internal and external are Nepal and Bhutan. Right? The Nepal Prime Minister has gone through the fourth round of vote of confidence successfully, though, and he is known to be friendly towards China. He was the Prime Minister in 2008 when, in the garb of attending the Olympics in July 2008, his first visit was to China. That was something which had never happened earlier. But in Nepal, we got open borders. I think the problem with Nepal is, let me shoot straight again, that whereas we have invested in Nepal very well, we got about 600,000 Indians working in Nepal, right? And the Nepalese citizens are welcome, domiciled Nepalese is welcome to take on any job in India. And it is that, like they normally say, beti roti ka rishta. So it's a very interesting rishta most of the time you found. Having studied 7 years in Nepal, I've learned a lot from them. They're great people, absolutely. And it's very easy to, be friendly with them. Because the expectations are very little, the expectations are very little. But somehow they feel that they have to maximize their strategic location vis-a-vis China and India. And we should accept that. We should accept that. We should not have any doubts about it. That every nation will look after their own interests. Balance of power game is played by nations, but nations which are not as big will always look at balance of interest before balance of power. There is this thing about balance of power and balance of interest. Whereas the hegemons will look at balance of power, the nations others would look at balance of interest, and that is what exactly you find our neighborhood is doing. It is balance of interest. They're trying to maximize their strategic location vis-a-vis on India on one side, China on the other side, USA, and the Western world. Okay. They will take whatever comes to them, and rightly so. If I was in Nepal, I would do the same thing. So we should not take anything they do for China as anti-India. There are difference being pro-India and being friendly to China. If you are friendly to China, doesn't mean it's not a zero-sum game. You're not anti-India. But then sometimes they do things like the recent map which has come out of the Lekapani area, Kalapani area, Lipuluk area, which is now on the currency note also. I think this is something which we need to sit down, talk, dialogue, and resolve. That's what the pastor said, that we'll resolve this by dialogue, and that's a very right way forward. And we'll have to. One thing which has really hampered our Indo-Nepal relations, and it's based on the old treaties, is the Agnipath scheme. Uh, they had about 40,000 plus Gurkha Nepali domicile Gurkhas, not Indian domicile Nepali domicile Gurkhas, who is serving the Indian Army, Indian Armed Forces, and they have always done exceedingly well for India, for themselves, for the units. There have never been a difference, and we all served. We all know that. There have never been a difference we saw in their uh, jazba for the nation and anyone else. They were truly, they were very loyal. They were rather, I would say, they were very loyal troops and they're very loyal to India. And we have a constituency there with the ex-servicemen, the eight pension dispersing officers there. And we have about, I think, I'm not too sure the figures now, but over 100,000 ex-servicemen, each ex-serviceman feeding a family of, let's say, 8 to 10. So that makes it about 10 times that. dependent on the pensions, the medical facilities which the ECHS provides, and the heartbeats for India. Right. So we have a constituency there. So despite Agnipath, I think Agnipath is a scheme which is anyway, I would say, which is flawed. But that's my personal opinion, and I hope I'm wrong. In that, I'll not go into the Agnipath scheme, but Agnipath scheme has actually spoiled our leverages, our goodwill with the people of Nepal. Right. So Nepal will have to handle with care. Fortunately, we are taking in about 10,000 megawatts of power from Nepal, but we also have to look at the river waters, the which flow down, and the climate security which is going to come up, and Nepal and India have to work together on the climate security. And the Rai region has unfortunately now been infested with those China study centers, which is a way of China keeping an eye on our northern parts of India. So this is something with Nepal is there, good and not so good. The more tricky one is Bhutan. Bhutan has had 25 rounds of border talks with China. Bhutan does not have diplomatic relations with China. Over the years, we had a 1949 treaty, which in a way said that Bhutan was, in a loosely term, was a protectorate of India, that we would look after their defense. But the 2007 treaty, which was right 2007 when Bhutan became a democratic country, does not say so. Section 2 talks of mutual security concerns. Okay, it is not only India. Bhutan will take care of India's security concerns, and India will take care of Bhutan's security concerns. So that's a very big change, and we got to understand in the right context. And I see General Dushan's there. He's been also handling this. So we look at, when we look at Bhutan, we'll have to look at our joint this thing. And Bhutan and India are the only two nations in the who have not resolved their land boundary with China. Out of the 14 nations, 12 have resolved their boundary dispute with China. Only two are not resolved because there's a problem of the tri-junctions both in the west and the east, right? India, China, Bhutan tri-junction. So it is under pressure now because the economy. But Bhutan does not have a diplomatic relation with China, and it is the first time that the Bhutanese foreign minister went to Beijing and met with the foreign minister of China. They had a talk. China has, of course, got into the with details. They're carrying out the technical studies of the border area. They share a 477-kilometer border. The west is the more sensitive one. They're willing to trade off the central and the eastern sector of the west, whereas the west is a very western Bhutan has got the Dolam Plateau. In 2017, we saw the Chinese come in. Chumbi Valley, you discussed this with General KJ Singh in a very detailed manner. Having commanded the same corps, I have a little bit of differences, but then differences should always be there. I do feel that Siliguri corridor is India's strategic vulnerability, India's strategic concern, and we cannot rule out a third country option exercised by China. Don't rule out. Never underestimate your adversary. Be pragmatic, yes. Talk about it, yes. But don't underestimate. Don't think that they're not going to do anything. No, the studying intent can change. Capability does not change. Capability is a long time to build. If you want to deter China from doing something, build capabilities, enhance capacities, right? I'm repeating at the cost of the time for other nations, but Shankar, you've been at it also. We talk about capabilities and capacities. So when you talk about Bhutan, we should handle Bhutan with the not handle. Wrong word. We should strengthen our relations with Bhutan, keep it strengthened, keep investing in the people of Bhutan, because Bhutan's only outgo road connectivity is through India. Right, and they understand that. They understand that. Remember, Bhutan is the only country which in the world which has gone in for counter-terrorist operations for another country. In the summer of 2003, they carried out Operation All Clear against Indian insurgent groups, right? And they did it all on their own, all on their own. So we should understand what Bhutan has done for India. And don't try to say that Bhutan is not dealing with China now. Bhutan is a neighbor of China. How can you deny that? We can't deny that they share land border of 477 kilometers, right? So this is what I'm talking about. Pakistan, I'm not touching. No, Myanmar is another tricky one. Ideology on one side, it's a neighbor, it's a bridge to the to our Act East policy. Act East policy is very important to us. Act East, think West. So these are things which are not which are good thoughts, absolutely. But without Myanmar, without Manipur, without the Northeast, I don't think we have a land connect to Act East. Right. So that is very important. So we need to resolve internally the free move regime, which is 16 kilometers movement on the other side, has been there for many years now. It has always been there. Now we want to stop that. I think we, having served out there along the border, the Myanmar border, which is about 1643 kilometers, free move regime has to continue because the clans are divided. The relatives are divided on the other side. Right? And this is mostly unadministered territory. It is not that it has got 300 crossing places. Okay, 300 crossing places, which are recognized. But you can cross over anywhere. The jungles are such. You command a brigade there. General Dushan has been there. We've been there. So it is not easy. And now we want to build a fence. I don't know how the fence is going to serve the purpose because the fence is only as good as the men manning the fence. And we learned this on 7th October. What happened on 7th October last year? They had the best technology, a 7-tier anti-infiltration system. But where did it go? Nothing. Okay. The fences know it has to be manned. And in that terrain, I think manning the fence would be a colossal effort, which could be better utilized by being more proactive, by investing into the economic development of the region, by investing in the people of the region. And fence is very costly. Fence is not easy. It's very costly to first initially install and then to sustain and maintain. And the troops required to maintain it. So I think that money could be better utilized by sending internal security operators in terms of police stations, which was there some time back, by investing into the economic development of people, by winning over the people. And the people from Myanmar don't come over this side for education. They come for medical. The things which come over because they belong to the same clan of brothers on the other side, one brother on this side. Marriages take place across the international border. We have to understand that the borders are made by nations. The people remain the same. Right. So Myanmar, the thing is that if we look at the Janta and the pro-democracy movement, so we'll have to balance out the two. The Janta is in power, and the pro-democracy we also supported earlier. We should not sit in ideology. We should look at what interests us. Because if Myanmar, there's turmoil in Myanmar, there's turmoil in our northeastern states, right? Especially Manipur, Nagaland, Mizoram, Arunachal, especially the 3 districts of Arunachal. So Myanmar becomes important. I'm basically talking from a security point of view. We also see that China has invested heavily into Myanmar, and the Chinese will continue to invest in Myanmar, and that is where they can create trouble in the northeast as and when required. I think I'll had a long monologue right now. Anything else you want to do?
Oh, you could talk a bit about Bangladesh, because we missed Bangladesh, and then I'll get.
Yeah, Bangladesh. Yeah, sorry, my fault. Bangladesh. Yeah, you see, Bangladesh with the President Awami League government, I think we are well off. We have a very good relationship with the present dispensation. In between, there have been reports of an bodies like anti-India movement, but these are limited to Jamaat and all. I don't think it's got any major this thing. So Bangladesh is a nation which is growing economically. We have trade relations with Bangladesh. We need connectivity to the northeast to Bangladesh, the target which has been there to Bangladesh. And Bangladesh is again another country which has banned and handed over Indian insurgent group leaders to us. They don't encourage any anti-India activity within Bangladesh, which is happening earlier prior to 2014, prior to the present dispensation of Sheikh Hasina as the Prime Minister. And we'll have to keep a watch on the political developments within Bangladesh. Bangladesh has done well. They built a memorial for the 1971 Indian soldiers. And the memorial come out very well. So they have not forgotten the sacrifices, but our expectations are too much that we liberate Bangladesh. Yeah, we did help liberate Bangladesh. Bangladesh made many sacrifices. Bangladeshis made the main sacrifices made Bangladeshis. If you look at it, millions of people died in that on 25th of March 1971. So Bangladesh sacrifices, and they came to India, and we looked after them. But that is there. That is the end of it all. Fortunately, the land border agreement has been resolved. The 1974 one has been resolved in 2015 by the present government, the enclave and enclave chain. So that is a good step forward. But we also have to understand that Bangladesh, 53 rivers from India flow to Bangladesh, and the water wars of Bangladesh continue. There are dynamics, there are state dynamics. The things are states also have a role to play. Unfortunately, the West Bengal government did not want to share the Tista waters, so there was a problem out there, which the central government was agreeing. So we have this linkages. We should look at a corridor, a transit corridor through Bangladesh, which is on the card, which needs to be actively engaged in, and this has to be carried out to the logical. So Bangladesh is, I think we're doing well with Bangladesh.
Uh, Thank you, sir. With this, what I'll do is, General Dushan Singh is here, so I'll request him to give his views on the neighborhood, and take your time. And over to you, General Dushan. All yours.
Thank you, sir, and very good evening, Jal Bhatia, sir. We are coming together after a long time, and in fact, he has carried out a full, full 360-degree scan of the entire neighborhood. Of course, Pakistan we need not include in our neighborhood because Pakistan and China become more of a separate discussion. So we'll restrict ourselves to what Jan Bhatia has carried out, starting from. I'll just give a quick comment, sir, over and above what Jal Bhatia has said. First of all, as far as Sri Lanka is concerned, I think we have to live with the reality that the Chinese are deeply invested in that. What we have to do is we have to also increase our investments and increase our presence in Sri Lanka so that we have a check over them. And rightfully, the government of India has taken the, I mean, through, of course, it's not government of India, the company of India which has taken the Western terminals, building up of the Western terminal in Colombo. So that's a good watch over the eastern terminal, which is now handled by the Chinese and the SEZ, which the Chinese are building near Colombo. Because, as he said, 45% of our cargo first lands at Colombo and then it comes to us. So Sri Lanka, but we have to be mindful of one factor, sir, that amongst all the ports which they have created, Humban Tota is the only port which is giving them some benefit. Otherwise, the annual turnaround of ships in the other ports like Gwadar, etc., are very low. It's Humban Tota which is giving the Chinese some kind of a return. So, from that perspective, we need to be little conscious of the fact that our engagement with Sri Lanka must continue. With Maldives, sir, slowly Maldives will realize. Of course, initially it's the Chinese which are having a little upper hand in that area. But again, unless we engage, we cannot deal with China in Maldives. I would like to quote here Shankar, our foreign minister, who said that these ups and downs in geopolitics and diplomacy will continue. It is how we deal with these ups and downs that matters most. So, as far as Maldives is concerned, our actions which we have taken as far as building a base in Minicoy Islands, Mauritius, etc. So we will take care of, I mean, the threats which are there and continue to look after our interest. Maldives has to come to India for its basic needs. If something happens in Maldives, some disaster strikes in Maldives, it is not the Chinese who are going to go and help them. They also realize that it is India which can only respond in the given time frame. We have proved it in the past, and I think we should play on that side. They are already moving billboards in India requesting the people of India to come for tourism. The tourism has taken a big hit. Almost 40% of Indian tourism has gone down, and that is something which major problem for Maldives. I think they will sooner or later realize the importance of India. Coming down to Bhutan and Nepal, so you're right. Bhutan and Nepal, we have altered a bit. Either we have not been able to pitch Agniveers in a right way, or we could have made some exceptions for Nepal, because it cannot be branded as part of India's overall policy. We had to deal with the Nepal, this particular aspect of Nepal, people of Nepal, I think a little differently. So to that extent, I agree with General Bhatia. Coming to Bhutan, I think that's a problem for us. Bhutan is one area where we are struck between idealism and the need to engage Bhutan in a manner that the Chinese are not indulging in a major uh, land related salami slicing or encroachment, because they are doing it from either sides. If you take the Yatung Valley, they are encroaching, trying to transgress towards our side also, and as well as towards in fact, towards the Bhutanese side, they have made a lot of ingress. Satellite pictures show that. The only factor is that this has been happening not from now. This has been happening right from, at least I have been in that area, sir. And General Bhatia was the corps commander there. The Western,
1963.
yes, sir. So they have been continuing with that, sir. So we have to find some solutions. We are somehow stuck in that ideal mode. We can't discuss everything on this platform. So, coming down to as far as Myanmar is concerned, we had a big discussion in clause with people who are dealing with that area, including Gautam Mukhopadhyay, who's been ambassador of Myanmar for quite some time, and also DG Assam Rifle. What we realize, sir, in Myanmar is that currently Myanmar uh, is is in a state where governments don't know whom to engage with. A lot of views have come that we should engage with the Three Brotherhood Alliance, in specific the Arakan Army, because the Chinese have done so with the MNDA in the north, that they have secured their border properly. As far as we are concerned, I think we also need to have some kind of parallel engagements going between the Three Brotherhood Alliance, EDF, and the military junta, because as per the some of the other experts, they felt that military junta ultimately will prevail over these people, though they are currently restricted to the urban areas. So Myanmar is something which India needs to, I think, decide very carefully. There is this need of the people to people connect, which General Bhatia has highlighted, but there is also the security concerns which are there, especially in terms of drugs, especially in terms of infiltration, gun running. Whole lot of activities are taking place here. After Afghanistan having banned opium, it is Myanmar which has become the hub of all drug production, including chemical drugs. People who had left this area of Arakan, they are now coming back essentially to earn money through the drugs. So that is something which is leading to, procurement of guns, etc., which are being used by people from this side. That besides, but you cannot also. And one more interesting thing which was brought out was that at certain places, the development on the Myanmar side is better. So it is the Indian side people who are going towards Myanmar for studies. They're sending their children within that free move regime to Myanmar for studies, and that was quite a revealing information which I got from uh, former ambassador Gautam Mukhopadhyay, that there are stretches where Myanmar is better off in terms of development, and you are aware, sir, the kind of underdeveloped nature on our side is quite huge. In fact, that is one of the constraints because of which we cannot construct the fencing as people are proposing that the fencing can be constructed all across the entire. The border has not been demarcated in number of places. The pillars are missing at number of places. There are a lot of challenges to that area. The proposal which finally people came out with was do selective uh, fencing. You have this leeway of people moving across, but have selective fencing in sensitive areas and areas where we feel that there is a need for having, so that they can be checked and manned also. This was one option which was given as a solution. And also, Assam Rifle came out very clearly that most of the refugees, about 70% of the refugees who had come from Myanmar have been sent back, sir, which is a very positive sign. Even the drug apprehensions have been fairly high in the last 1 year after the Afghanistan. But we have to cater for the fact that why the drug apprehensions have been high, because the production has gone high. So there is a very volatile situation as far as Myanmar is concerned, and maybe we have to keep a watch 2 to 3 years down the line. I hope things don't go bad, sir. Connectivity is one issue without which Act East cannot take place. In Myanmar, most of our projects are floundering, except for a good news that the Sitwe port has now been fully taken control of by India. But the connectivity beyond such Sitwe of the railway line and of the road is not fully made, sir. That road construction is a big challenge, although it is 110 kilometers only. But that 110 kilometers is fraught with a lot of security problems, and there has been no headway on that. So unless and until we complete this multimodal Kaladan project, I think Act East will be more through the maritime domain and not through the land domain. So that was an additional point to what Jan Bhatia had said. As far as Bangladesh is concerned, sir, there was this movement of India out kind of a activity started by the opposition forces in Bangladesh, but I think Sheikh Hasina finally managed to quell that nascent movement of India out from Bangladesh. And overall, Bangladesh still Sheikh Hasina is there, sir. I think we will be able to manage it, but we have to look beyond her, sir, because she's already done three tenures, and there is a shelf life to every leader. So, and we should be now looking beyond that shelf life, so that we have options like the Chinese do. The Chinese have been negotiating with everyone in Myanmar and trying to do their उल्लू सीधा जिसको हिंदी में बोलते हैं, balance of interest is what they are maintaining. We also need to do something similar with Bangladesh, lest we have a problem. And we are aware of the immigration problem, the influx of people from Bangladesh. It's a natural process, but which we must realize, because Bangladesh land is shrinking, sir. I had done a study in the US. It was a technical study, scientific study of rise in rise in the water of Bangladesh, and it was projected that I think, as per
One
me,
third of Bangladesh
yeah, it
will
was
go underwater.
yeah, one third of Bangladesh is likely to go underwater in the next few decades. That is something which will automatically lead to these people coming towards our side. So we have to find some solution to this, maybe through the UN ages, although UN is not really effective nowadays. But but other than that, we have to look at some kind of an arrangement so that everyone shares this load, and it doesn't go purely into India. It can be taken on, something can be taken on by other countries. The refugees can be sent to, like the UNHCR does, sir. It distributes refugees to various countries. I think some kind of an arrangement we have to think of in the long term as far as dealing with Bangladesh is concerned. We must also highlight the fact that it is China which is not sharing the water data of the rivers which are coming from China towards India and then thereafter into Bangladesh, as per the lower riparian rules, procedures. We should be privy to these data. Otherwise, we will continue to face floods, and more often it will be Bangladesh which will be much more affected. Although you are aware, Assam also gets deeply affected by these water, especially flooding of Brahmaputra, sir. So with that, sir, these are my brief, quick comments, sir. I think overall, uh, as of now, we can say that we are a little down in managing our neighborhood, but I think it's a short-term process. As the next government comes, whichever government comes, I think this will be taken up seriously, and we should be progressing towards uh, getting these people to engage with India much more intimately than what it is being done. The elections are a very major factor, which creates some kind of a void in the diplomatic engagement of various countries. That's all, sir. I think by and
Yeah,
large, most of the things have been covered, sir.
yeah. Thanks a lot. I think a lot of track has been covered on our neighborhood. What I'll do is I'll wrap up what all both of you have said and bring out the important points, some points which have not been covered. As far I'll go country by country. As far as Sri Lanka is concerned, one place where we have actually really pulled back is that airport outside Hambantota, the Rajpaksha Matala airport, which has been taken over by a joint consortium between Russia and India. So that's one place where we have pulled back. When you talk of Maldives, a lot of people say Maldives has gone completely China way. I have a slightly different opinion here. If you see the whole story, the way it's panning out, their foreign minister came and met our foreign minister, and he spoke of restructuring of loans. He spoke of the fact which all those issues which General Bhatia did mention. And they are pretty clear, I think, that they want to be equidistant with China. They will welcome China, and that's one way of asserting their own sovereignty. And this is one of the things which the president, Muzu, when he took over, he said, we don't want to be with anyone, but we are not going to be completely subservient to any one nation. We're going to welcome everyone. But then that's a work in progress. We'll have to see how we play it out. Right. Uh, Bangladesh, I think at this point it is stable. The future is a bit uncertain unless we are able to resolve the river water issue with them. Even if we do resolve the river water issue, will it solve the problems? Because the problems are more people to people at a fundamental level, which we need to focus on. And this is a work cut out for the new government as it comes. The worrying thing is while everything is fine, there are reports of a submarine base being built up. China has just given 2 submarines to Bangladesh, but the submarine base which is coming up is, the the pictures suggest they're going to have 6 bases. So there is a dichotomy in this whole story. I think we'll have to handle this the way it should be handled. Well, Nepal. Uh, in my opinion, Nepal is the most important neighbor of ours. For the simple reason that is sitting on our heartland. And despite all these things, you find Chinese construction workers, building roads on the other side, and a lot of roads coming up from the north. There's a railway line proposed to come from the north. This will take time, and of course, we've now gone back on the back foot with Agnipath, which General Bhatia had mentioned. So I think we need to be focused on Nepal, and very clearly, Nepal is working at the behest of
China.
China with the currency note which they came out with the Lipulek Pass and Limpudyara as part of this thing. And their aim is somehow for the Chinese to get hold of Lipulek Pass so that they can sit on the watershed and do something naughty from there and put pressure. So this is something which we need to, and after all, Lipulek Pass, controls the route to Mansarovar. So I think we need to work on it. Bhutan, again, it's shifting sands in Bhutan, very well highlighted, and nothing more to add. Myanmar is the big flux because the internal situation of Myanmar doesn't leave you any leeway to know whom to act with, whom to talk with, and whom to take your issues across. And of course, the issue which we keep talking of, the security fence, which General Bhatia very clearly said, that security fence will solve nothing for us. Right? In fact, it will become a headache more. Then, it'll be a problem to a problem rather than a solution to a problem. So I think we have to be very clear as to how to go. The way forward is to have a better understanding with Myanmar, but that's a thing. Now, how do I look at a policy based on what both of you have said? What is a policy which we have to put out for our neighborhood first when the new government comes in? Or if you have to take a macro question on this, that is first, very clearly, we need to have a policy where we share our prosperity with our neighbors, and neighbors have to be pretty well assured that we will give them the prosperity they desire, right? And in turn, they have to give us the thing that security or security concerns are taken care of, which I started this whole program with. The second thing which General Bhatia did bring out was connectivity. In the in the neighborhood of India, it is only India which connects the rest of the neighbors. The neighbors individually don't have any connectivity between themselves. So it is here that India's role comes into play in a big way because India needs to provide that connectivity and improve the trade. After all, like again, General Bhatia said, 25% of the world's population and 3% of the world's trade. This needs to improve. And trade, enhanced trade between a big nation and smaller nations, resolves a lot of issues. And here, I think we need to be a little more large-hearted in our approach. Like do see some people saying we need to draw red lines and blue lines and black lines. None of these lines will work. What will work is people to people contact. And that is something which you have not exploited enough because we have a civilizational connect with most of the people across. We have an ethnic connect, we have a religious connect. Right? With all these kinds of connects which we have, and if you put in physical connectivity, things have to improve. And so our investment in people has to increase, like the way it has given us better results in Afghanistan. Then, of course, a very crucial thing which came out today is the balance between the balance of interest and the balance of power. Right? We have some interest, but we are not interested in power. Whereas China is interested in power, it doesn't. And interests are only power. So this is something which we need to put across to all these governments and again get on to the people. And the fact that we've never held on to their territory, we now don't have any ambitions in them, that is something which we need to communicate very clearly to them. Okay. Then the India out contagion. It started with Maldives, went to Bangladesh. Our thing is, it should not go to Nepal or Myanmar and spread at other places. This is something which we need to start focusing on very sincerely, or rather very seriously. Then the next point, I think the major thing is we have to live with this China reality. How are we going to counter this reality that China is here with its interests, with its power requirements, and with its deep pockets? How are you going to counter that? We need to have an internal policy how to counter that in our neighborhood. And that is something which is a thing which is cut out for the new government. Right? These are the major points. I think we've covered the entire gamut of our neighbors. We've left out Afghanistan, but we'll tackle Afghanistan separately on another day. I think these neighbors, which are to the south and to the east, are today much more important for India's prosperity, growth, and development as a major power. And we need to focus on that. With your permission, sir, I'll take a few questions on. Yeah, please, sir.
1 minute only, not more than
Yeah.
that. Two things. I think, now that we always come out to 4Ds and 3Ps, I think neighborhood policy should also, other than the 5 S's which have already been, factored into our neighborhood first policy, we should look at 3Cs. And this comes out of the discussion today. One of the officers who passed after told me that, sir, General Shankar's channel, we heard 4Ds, and that is how we answered questions. So the three C's are culture, connectivity, and commerce. Right?
Yeah.
So these are very important ones, and we brought this out in different manners. But when you have cultural linkages, we have connectivity, and then we have commerce. Commerce is very important. That's what binds interest. So that is one thing. And second thing about India is Indians, not India. We should not look at ROI, return on investments. We always look at return on investments. We have done so much; they have not done anything for us. Why should we look at return on investments? Yeah? We do it because we have to do it. Period. So what we want them to be, where's the investment, where's the return on investment. So these are two things I think I thought I'll bring it.
Yeah. Anything, Dushyant? Otherwise, I'll
No,
take a few questions.
no, I think everything has been said well, sir. I could only add one more C to it and say that also look at the challenges and overcome them. So the fourth C
Okay.
should be the challenge, because the challenge is something which we ignore normally. That is where we should also invest, sir.
Right. Thanks. At the outset, Nirvana Traveler, thanks a lot for joining in as a member. Okay. Okay. Let's take this. Sir, Despite the fact that Nepal is apparently aligning with the enemy, we remain partial towards this neighbor due to our historical and cultural relationship over the centuries. So this is his view. Do we have any other choice? That's my thing. And in fact, if I may add, after all, it sits on our heartland. So how do you handle this? I mean, your views, General Bhatia, sir.
Akash, for the Chinese, I would say Nepal has always, been aligned with India over the years. Why? So look at it from the other, from the other side. I think Nepal and India have got a relation, beti roti ka rishta hai hamara. Education wise, employment wise, dependency on each other, cultural linkages, civilization linkages, our treaties. I think we have done very well over the years, and the world is changing. The geopolitics and geostrategy is changing, and we have to live with the changed global order. And the changed global order, China is there. We cannot wish for China. China's got deep pockets. It's a world power today. So it is looking at establishing itself. It is looking at ensuring that the competition in India is for power, basically, right? So how does it stymie India's growth? By getting involved in the neighborhood, and that's something we should not get involved. We should continue to look at Nepal the way we always looked at Nepal over centuries, 1816 onwards. That's a treaty, Nepal treaty. Look at the 1915 Nepal treaty. No, we helped them out always. We had a Indian aid mission in Nepal, a military mission in Nepal. We had a military mission in Nepal earlier, right? And the military mission came back. Like I always said, we came back. So this is what we should look at Nepal. We should not look at what China is doing for Nepal. China will, in a way, when China does something for anyone, it needs its pound of flesh in a very big way.
Yeah.
And so it looks at results every day. And even Pakistan today is fed of China. Let me also say that. Not Pakistan, sorry, my fault. Pakistanis are fed of China. Okay, there are different Pakistan Pakistanis. The people of Pakistan are not with the Chinese investments anymore. We don't want the investment. So it's a question of time only. There are differences between the governance and the people. The people realize that very fast. No, we also have to look inwards. When we do something for Nepal, we're not doing it for Nepal, we're doing it for the region. Even in the Nepal, let me be very, Nepal earthquake 2015. India helped out. We did a wonderful job. Excellent, absolutely. But what did we do? We projected that as if we are the only ones doing it. Sorry. We are not the only ones doing it. The first responders were the people. Okay. Someone should have given credit to them. We were just helping out. And once you help out, don't ask for return on investment. That's my point.
Right, sir. That's fine. The next question is, what's the way ahead with Bhutan? Surely they are smart enough to know any deal with China is a Faustian bargain. Yet they are moving ahead with it. Is it time to get a bit rough with them? Dushyant, your take.
Sir, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, sir. As far as
I think
Bhutan
there's
is
some voice coming in from you.
okay, so as far as Bhutan is concerned, I think Bhutan and Nepal are on a similar boat as far as India is concerned. These are the only two countries which give us. I'll answer it more in a, I mean, in the security perspective. Are the only countries which prevent a Chinese border coming close to India. So they act also like a buffer state. Now, if we have to preserve this buffer state, we must do whatever it takes to ensure that they remain as a state. Otherwise, we'll have two more Tibets on our border, and that would be a very difficult situation for us to handle. Point number one, and point number two is the deep linkages are not only from last 100 or 200 years. These linkages exist from, I think, uh, right from ancient time to date. Now, how can it's like pulling out the umbilical cord from the mother. So these two countries must remain engaged, whatever it takes. As far as India is concerned, there is no use of showing teeth. There are better ways to, I think, manage Bhutan as well as Nepal. Don't show teeth to Bhutan and Nepal. We can deal with the guy who is trying to finger there are other ways and means, and I'm now referring to, if somebody is doing a gray zone on us, I think nothing stops us from doing a gray zone on the other side also. So these are some hard options plus soft options. Don't get back at the Nepalese and the Bhutanese.
Right. Namaste, General Sirs. Thank you for this human service and educating all of us. Hope the government is also listening and using this input. So yeah, that's our job, and that's it. And this message I want to give to all people who are appearing for staff college and watching this. Some might be will watch it later. That's okay. My message is any subjects you feel you want me to cover more, you let me know. We'll cover it in due course. That's the first thing. And there are a lot of people who will come and educate you on this. And secondly, I can assure you, if you take a cross section of all the questions which came last year, a lot of questions came out of all our discussions, right? So I would suggest you keep following it at your own time. And of course, from tomorrow onwards, we're going to get into this technology thing because technology and war have now come up to the fore, and understanding this connect and understanding this technologies is very important. But that's for tomorrow. Okay. So there's a question on Myanmar. So Indian insurgents are fighting against or for Myanmar government. If India establishes military relations with Myanmar, would it affect our northeast region, especially with people, those who are supporting for? You know how the whole, his second thing is supporting for the Queen and fighting against the current government. Basically, the spillover to our side, sir. And that's what their thing is. So, General Bhatia, sir, your view on this?
No, I don't think they're fighting for the government. I think it's they are surviving. They have to survive. There is there has been a military junta. There are atrocities out there. So they are coming for a better life this side. And some of people go for a better, like Jan Dushant said. Some people also go for better education the other side. But most of them coming for better life, better sustenance, better saving their lives coming this side. So I don't think there's a if we have military relations in Myanmar, we have a relation in Myanmar. We had Tamadao ke saath, we've been doing this thing. So the Indians are not fighting against or for Myanmar government. Sorry, most of the places where the Indian insurgent groups are deployed are not government territory. Okay. Even the Myanmarese army or the Tamadao does not have much say out there because there are insurgent groups of Myanmar. There are tribal loyalties, and there are certain dynamics which take place. And let me also say that mostly the Indian insurgent groups in Myanmar have been very quiet for a long time. Uh, we had a peace ceasefire with them, and that is sustained. Other than a few factions in Manipur, I think Nagaland, while there was a absolutely subcritical. Arunachal is subcritical. Mizoram is peaceful. Of course, there's a problem with law and order. We understand there is law and order problem, not public domain order. There's some disturbance in the background. I don't know where it's coming from, but not from my side. Besides the point. So we'll have to say that we are with the people, and the people are doing both sides. And I think the Myanmar government does not have the bandwidth to look after the Indian insurgent groups.
Actually,
Okay.
actually, the Myanmar government does not have the bandwidth to look after even the insurgents who are fighting them. They
Then, yeah.
have just got two posts. Even those got pushed back. Currently, sir, they are all restricted to the urban areas. Both the groups from our side as well as their sides have about roughly about two and a half dozen uh, bases or camps, as you can say, and they continue to support each other. But currently, India is not getting affected by this, other than the Mighty Cookie rivalry which is going on, which is more of an internal problem. Like I said, I quoted that thing, sir. The DG, the Assam Rifle quoted that about 70-80% have gone back, and rest are in the process of going back. And now it is
Okay.
2-3 more. So you will find that most of the guys who had come this side are being sent back to Myanmar.
Okay. Our neighbors are playing proxies for competing power players, playing with two grandmasters simultaneously. So, which we did talk of. So, Dushyant, your view.
Sir, I told you, sir, this is a geopolitical game which continues to be played. It is just that sometimes a particular player is on the rise, and sometimes the other player is on the rise. Where has been a major difference, sir? Not many. Everywhere I think India is crawling back into a situation of, if you take even Nepal, the government which was changed about two months back, of course it has won the majority with a lot of how should I say, wheeling and dealing. But there is something happening there also, where we are trying to ensure that the interest of ours are taken care of. So ultimately I think, sir, it's a game which we should let it remain be played by the diplomacy. I don't think there has been any major upheavals, other than the fact that the Chinese are slightly having an edge now, sir. And
Okay.
ultimately, sir, connectivity, as you said, Nepal, Bhutan, they are all dependent on us, sir. जब जब रोटी चाहिए होगी हमारे पास आएंगे, सर. तो ये लोग हमारे साथ ही रहेंगे. अगर हम उस पे अपना आंख दिखाएंगे, then they will feel bad about it.
Yeah.
Let's keep our gates open. Calcutta port is open for Bhutan and Nepal. I'm sure they will realize it.
See,
Okay.
we have to also understand, in the larger context, we also balance between US and Russia, don't we?
Yeah. Yeah.
We do
So
that.
they'll do it.
Why not?
It's their survival. It's their survival.
Sir, they're
So
learning from you. I told in one of the programs
we're
that
looking after their
probably
interests.
these guys are learning from us also.
We should understand that. We should understand also one more thing. We should have deliverables. We don't deliver the way we should deliver. We promise and don't deliver on time. Our processes and procedures are very cumbersome. So if we promise something, the development aids, we want to deliver in time, and it should be visible, so it will get returns. As far as balance is concerned, we also balance out Russia and China and US. We do that also. So same thing our neighbors are doing. So what's so great about it?
Yeah. So I'll not take any more questions, but I'll close this today's thing with this comment. He says, imagine a tea box with 9 different flavors sold internationally. It will create a camaraderie, something easy and doable. I think that's a very nice idea he is giving, which India needs to take on board and take all the countries in this area together, right? Yeah, of course, we'll all never have Pakistan on our side, Pakistan, but let it, like we said, it's drowning, let it keep drowning or whatever it is. But the rest of the countries we can take along, and I think that's the challenge ahead for the new government. Sirs, General Dushyant Singh and General Bhatia, sir, thanks a lot for your participation today and giving your views about the entire neighborhood. Before I close, General Dushyant, 1 minute to you, and then followed by General Bhatia, 1 minute, and then we'll say Jai Hind. Over to you, Dushyant.
Sir, my one-line comment: ups and downs should not upset us. Sometimes somebody wins, sometimes somebody loses. I think India has enough resilience in its policies to get back.
General Bhatia, sir.
We are researching in India. We shouldn't bother about such small things. They will look out. We should understand that. It's a question of understanding, and why not? They should understand. They look after this thing, and that is where I think we should keep them together and pro-Indian.
Yeah, I think we need, finally, sir, the last thing is that we need to have the confidence that we are a big nation. All these nations, we have this connectivity, we have culture, we have everything going with them, commerce going with them already. We have a solid base on which to build on the 3 C's which General Bhatia said. With this thought, I'd like to thank the audience for their questions and their comments. And I'd like to thank General Dushyant and General Bhatia for participating today. Till tomorrow evening, 8 o'clock, we're going to talk of military technologies of this century and how they are applicable in the war and how they are played out and what is it there in our context. And that's what we'll speak of tomorrow. Till then, good evening and Jai Hind. Jai Hind
Thank
to
you.
both of you, sir.
Thank you.
Good evening,
Thank
sir.
you.
Jai Hind.